Buongiorno and welcome. During an exchange of messages with Mirella, ciao Mirella, one of my very loyal subscribers, she asked me if I could remember the name of some Easter biscuits which have got a hard-boiled egg on top, and she used to have them as a child. And they're called Campanari or Cuddura or Pupi, depending on where you are in Sicily. They're very traditional, actually, not just of Sicily, very southern Italian, so they're very popular also in Puglia, Calabria. So I've never made them before, but I'm very keen to give it a shot. So I've been learning and studying, and also I'm very keen to please Mirella's request. So today I will be making some Campanari, and hopefully they will turn up okay. I'm leaving this a little bit late, admittedly, as today is Thursday and Easter is this coming Sunday, so I will try and post this video today if I can. But I've got here 500 grams of self-raising flour. You can also use plain flour. I'll tell you what to do if you do so. But a little tip, put a little bowl inside, and that will give you an immediate little well. I will give you the ingredients as usual in my recipe, but this is 160 grams of sugar. Normal sugar, nothing fancy, and the next thing I will be adding one egg, followed by 40 milliliters of semi-skimmed milk, a little pinch of salt, and I'll start mixing everything together until the sugar has dissolved and hopefully everything will become to a similar paste. As I make these biscuits, I'll be sharing the learnings with you. As I said, I've never made them before. First learning is that I'm using a whisk, and that is definitely the wrong tool. So I'll just clean it up and I'll continue with a fork. And that is much better. So this is a good time to add now some butter, 100 grams. Make sure that the butter is at room temperature. Followed by more milk, same again, another 40 milliliters, and I'll carry on mixing until it becomes very difficult, which is now. So I'll just clean the fork and I'll carry on with my hands. Apologies, but I nearly forgot to add the yeast. I did say I've never made this before. I've got a sachet here which is 7 grams, and I will only be adding half. That is because I'm using self-raising flour. If you were to use plain flour, you can add the entire sachet. And I'll continue mixing until this will turn into dough, similar to what you would have if you were making bread or pizza. And I'm nearly there. However, it is still a little bit too dry, so I've got two choices. I can add another egg, but I don't want to do that. Or I can add a little sunflower oil, which is what I'll do. Just a little blodge like this, that's enough. And this is very optional, and also you can replace it with lemon zest if you like. I'm going to add a little amount of vanilla extract, about 1 teaspoon. And I will add them together, and I'll continue mixing until I get that consistency I'm looking for. Now it's much better, and I can now carry on my worktop. So I'm going to be placing a little flour there, and I'll move my dough on top of it. And I'll continue kneading it using the palms of my hands like this until it reaches that perfect consistency. Actually, the smell from the vanilla is making such a big difference already. The vanilla was a little bit of an afterthought, as initially I was thinking to use lemon zest towards the end, but then I changed my mind. So if you want to use vanilla, you can actually add it at the beginning when you are putting all of the ingredients together. It doesn't matter too much, as long as you add it if you want it. And this is looking nice and smooth, it's lovely and fresh, and it smells wonderful. So next thing here I've got some cling film. I'll just cut a little piece, and I'll wrap it on top of my dough all over, and I'll place this in the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes to rest. And let's talk about the eggs next. I'm hoping to make 4 to 5 shapes, and I've got 5 eggs in front of me. These two here, they are duck eggs, and they are already of a beautiful color, greeny, sort of turquoise, so I think they're perfect as they are. You don't have to do this, by the way, but I want to make my Campanari nice and bright. So 3 standard eggs. They're all boiled, by the way, and they've cooled down, so they're ready to eat. And I will be applying a little dye in each glass, so that hopefully I'll get a blue one, a yellow one, and a red one. I'll cover each egg until they are properly covered with water like this, followed by a little splodge of vinegar. Doesn't really matter if it's wine vinegar or not. And I'm going to make this one green, and I'll mix it all together. I just wash the spoon to avoid any disappointments. Next one will be red, and as I mentioned earlier, my last one will be blue, so that's the last one, and I'll mix it in. And I will leave them for anything between 5 to 10 minutes. The longer you leave them, the brighter and the more intense should the color be. The reason why I'm saying should is because I've never tried this before, so it might not work. By the way, I referred to this as dye earlier. That is not the correct name. It is food coloring. So if you want to do it, you know what to get. And I'm ready to continue. A little bit more flour on my worktop. And here is my dough. And the next thing I'll do, I'll cut it into 4 equal pieces, like so. And I'll make 4 little balls ready for my shapes. And let's try and make the first one. So a little ball goes on the worktop, rolling pin, and I'll start rolling away. And I'm rolling it until I get a thickness of approximately ½ centimeter, so I think I can stop now. The shapes next, entirely up to you, but I've got 3 ready in front of me which I prepared earlier, and I'll share them with you if you like. But I'll start with the dove here. Oops. And that is a symbol of peace, but also resurrection. So I'll put it on top of my dough like so. I'm using a normal kitchen knife, nothing fancy. Look, it's just a normal knife. I'm now scoring around the shape of my dove, and I should be done in a moment. And I'll remove the excess, which can of course be reused. And here it is, my first shape is ready. I'll pick it up and I'll move it on one side, ready for later. And with the remaining dough, I'll mix it together again, and I think I'll make another dove. My next shape is a bell, and that is a symbol of joy, but also celebration, and a call to the Easter Mass. So same again, just go around with your knife until the shape is done. Wonderful, look at this. And there it is. And off he goes with the rest. And it goes without saying, I've got to do one with the shape of a rabbit, which actually is also a symbol of spring, fertility, rabbits, and of course also innocence. So off we go. My daughter Gabriella, who is the youngest, she loves little pets, and she used to have a rabbit pet when she was little, called Joey, and he had a tendency of running away, but I used to live in a cage, and during the day we would leave him in the garden. But one day my oldest, Alessandro I think it was, I'm sure it was Alessandro, he forgot to close the cage at night time, and Joey was never to be seen again. He's gone and made his own family somewhere else. So that's the story of Joey. But I'll make a couple of those, and I'll move on to my last one, which is the most symbolic symbol for Easter. I'm now kneading my remaining dough, as I will be making some ropes, and so that I can form a wreath or ring or a ciambella in Italian, and that symbolizes unity, eternity, and rebirth. So I'll start rolling. Once it gets a little bit too big, I'll cut it in half, and I will continue. And I'll do the same again until I get to something which looks very much like a rope of approximately just under 1 centimeter in diameter. And I'll do the remaining of my dough, and I'll be making 3 ropes of the same size. And I'm sure you now how to make a plait, so join the 3 pieces together at the very top. And I've started putting my plait together. I've watched a few videos on YouTube, and I will be honest with you, people who are doing this are far more elegant and quick than me, but you have to start from somewhere, so it's not going to stop me. So I'll carry on, and even if it's not going to look as beautiful, I'm sure it will taste delicious. And I think that is enough for my biscuit, so I'll chop it here and press it down, and I'll turn it until I get the shape of a little nest, and I'll connect the 2 ends together, and I'll leave enough here for the egg and press it down. Quick nudge up, there it is. I don't think it's too bad for my very first attempt, so that can go in with the rest. And I'm nearly there. Egg, this one is not cooked, and it goes in a glass. I'll quickly mix together so that I create a little egg wash, and I'll go ahead and cover the entire surface of all of my shapes, including my little ring, with egg wash. Now remember the experiment I did with the eggs? Well, has partly worked. I had a white egg here, and I put some red dye on this one, and that's worked actually. It's got a colour that I wanted, but the other ones, they didn't. And all I can imagine is that because they're not white, so if you want to replicate it, do not bother unless you got white eggs. I think I might have mentioned that these were duck eggs, so I'll put a large duck egg in here, and the second one I'll put it here on top of my bell, and I'll just press it down gently so that it doesn't move. And I'll put this one on my other bell here. And I've only done 4 eggs, so I'll put one here with a dove. I'll press it down, and my last one I'll put it this way. It's a bit big, but doesn't matter, with one of my rabbits. using the remainder of the dough, I made some very little strings. So I'll pick this one to start with, and I'll put it under here and press it down, and I'll go the other way like so, and I'll lift it from the other end, and I'll cut it with my hand and tuck it in, and in can go like so. And I'll do the same on the other side. So lift it gently and move it across. And this is a very, very typical design of these biscuits, of course. I'm sure that Mirella will remember just like this. And I will repeat the same exercise with the remaining eggs. Again, go underneath, tuck it in, and go to the other side. And there it is, it's ready. Little Bugs Bunny will have to have his egg on an angle. I'm sure that he will not mind. This is my only success story on the egg dyeing exercise, so there you go. And I'm now moving on to my last one, my little dove. So that's one end, in he goes, and the other side. Wonderful. I've got a little dough left over, and of course I'm not going to waste it. So I'm making 4 little balls like this, perfectly round. And then I'll press it with my finger like so. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They remind me actually of Christmas almond biscuits, and I will add them to my tray. Back to my egg wash, and I'll finish the job with the little strings, but also I think I'll put some on these, why not? And these are rainbow sprinkles, or often referred to in this country as hundreds of thousands, or in America I think they call them tens of thousands. And this is actually what makes a big difference presentationally, so be generous and make sure that you cover them adequately. So if, for example, like this one, you don't go have many, just go back and add them. Earlier I mentioned Christmas biscuits, and I cannot help but putting a few almonds in here, just like you would do if they were Christmas biscuits. Obviously that is a different recipe because they're made with almond flour, but why not? They will look good. And I've just made a mess as I'm looking for some black pearls because I want to give my rabbit and my doves eyes. And I'm just dishing what I can find of that color here, black. So let's go to Mr. Rabbit over here, and we will give him a little eye. And let's do the same with the dove, one, and here's the other one, and there should be another one here. Perfect, 4, done. And of course I've only got 4 eggs, and they will be perfectly okay. And they're ready to go in the oven. Temperature 180 degrees, but not for very long, about 15 minutes, but keep an eye on them. 15 minutes should be enough. Mine is a fan assisted oven, but I think even if you've got a conventional oven, leave it at 180, and you will know that they will be cooked because they will become beautiful and of a caramel color, and then let them rest for about 15 minutes in the oven once you turn it off, and then we can take a look. I'll see you in a little while. Ciao for now. Okay, I'm back, but it is more than just 20 minutes or half an hour. I'd lost all sense of time and we had to go to the supermarket to do some shopping before Easter, also collect my daughter from the station. And here they are, look. It's not a bad thing because when I taste them, actually they're going to be cold, and then we'll be able to see what they're really like once they've cooled down.
They do look very impressive,
They do look very impressive.
Look at the size of them.
And they're absolutely beautiful. But before I taste one, I have got a little story to tell because a certain person has been very naughty. We tend to buy our Easter eggs maybe 3 or 4 weeks before Easter.
When they're on offer, everybody.
When they're on offer, yes, absolutely. But we cannot just keep them in the house because a certain person, I'm not mentioning names, has got this habit of eating them.
Yeah.
And
do you know what I do, everybody? I have to give bags of them to my mum to put in her spare room because my mum won't touch them because I have no control.
Absolutely zero control. So we normally give them to her mum, and then she brings them, I think, just a few days before Easter. Now, we went to the supermarket a couple of weeks ago, and we had forgotten to buy a couple of eggs for someone. So we decided to get them, and we brought them home. And I forgot them to give them to Diane, Julie's mum. So when we went to the supermarket today, a certain person, I'm not making names, I'm not shaming or naming, but a certain person said to me, oh, by the way, we've got to buy another Easter egg. So do I need to say any more? Do I need to say any more?
Yeah, I think one had just miraculously disappeared, everybody.
I
was going to make up who it was for, and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to come out with it. He knows what I'm like now.
She's terrible, honestly. She's absolutely terrible. So as punishment, I'm going to put her on the spot. So do you know why Easter and eggs are associated together?
Well, may I point out, I got a B in my O-level
Oh, right, okay,
at the age of 16, everybody. A B in O-level religious education. So I am aware that it's all to do with spring being the time of year when lots of little chicks and birds, etc. are all born, hence the egg. And also it's to do with Jesus being reborn after 3 days.
Very good. Actually, you're surprising me. Sorry, I don't want to undermine you, but you're surprising
Wow.
me. So actually, the Easter and eggs predate very much Christian traditions as well. And Julie's absolutely right. So the spring arrives after a long, hard winter, and eggs very much represent new life and so on. But also there is something about celebration and hope, and something which a lot of people most probably do not know is that during Lent, eggs were forbidden traditionally, and until then Easter arrived, and then they came back in beautiful and bright colors, and people then would bake them with bread. And this is very much actually what this dish represents, because it is not necessarily about faith, it's about joy and representing people sitting together around the table. And that is why I've chosen to do some bright colors today. No, enough of the RE lessons before I bore you to death. And I'm going to try one.
No, hang on a minute. I think we need to zoom in on how sweet. So look, there's a little rabbit.
Yeah, well, people have seen them in the video.
What is that? What is that?
This is a bell.
Oh, it's a bell. Do you know what? I thought it was a bell, but I'm not quite sure what that's got to do with Easter.
This is
another bell, another bird.
Have you seen the rabbit? Oh,
yeah, so the rabbit.
Yeah.
And then this one, look.
This is the
wow.
wreath. Yeah.
We might need to share that one.
Ciambella or ring or wreath. I'm going to taste one, and I'm very, very keen to see if they're any good. And as I mentioned before, I have never attempted to cook this before, so it's a first. Let's have a look.
Can I try a piece?
You want to?
I've never tried this. I've never actually been in Sicily for Easter, have I?
They're lovely. They're not too sweet either. So the quantity of sugar that I'll give you in the recipe is perfect. And also they are crunchy on the outside and soft on the inside. So very, very pleasant. Ironically, Judy, when I mentioned to her that I was going to make these, she objected because she said, how can you have egg with biscuits? But you can see why, because actually you can eat the biscuits without having to eat the egg. So this is the end of the video. Hopefully I haven't bored you, but I have learned 3 things from this recipe today, and I'm going to share them with you again. First thing is, use a fork, do not use a whisk at the beginning. Unless you're using white eggs, do not bother with any with any food dye, because it's a waste of time, but it worked really well.
They are pretty though, aren't they? Look at that really lovely pink one, that's beautiful.
And the third one is, I'm lucky because they did actually puff up, and they didn't stick to one another. They're okay, but if I was to make them again, I would actually use a second tray, because there is a danger that they could actually get stuck to one another. So they're beautiful. I'll just pick one up and show it to you. And I'm really, really pleased for my first attempt.
Yeah, that's been most impressive. May I point out, everybody, while he was doing this, I made 2 fruit cakes, a lemon drizzle, and some coconut cakes.
Yeah, but what she's not saying to you is that she didn't have to film them.
No, I didn't, no.
Anyway, thank you for watching. Happy Easter, and have a lovely one, and I'll see you after Easter. Thank you. Bye.